Hello, and happy Sunday. This is the Insaka Talk Show. My name is Priska. In the studio today is my lovely friend, sister. She looks amazing all the way from Dallas, Texas. She's just giving us a Nelly. How are you?
I'm doing well, Priska. How are you?
I am well, thank you. I love the
It's good
hair.
to see you. I love your dress.
Thank
It's
you. It's African.
yeah,
Actually, you gave me this dress. Thank you.
yeah. Maureen did.
Maureen did. Thank you, Maureen.
Mhm. I don't want to take credit for something I didn't do,
I
but
met Maureen through you, though.
yeah.
Yes. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm good. I'm good. A little tired. Yesterday was a busy day, but hey, we're here. We are live. We are live, guys.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute, and we have such an interesting topic. But I'll hand it over back to Priska.
We do have an interesting topic, but before we bring our guest, do we have any community news?
Yes, we do.
Dallas, you guys have an independence party?
We have Dallas has an independence party on October 19th. Guys, it's going to be nice. It's going to be lovely. It's going to be cutesy, very mindful, very demure. You don't want to miss it.
I said very Demitsi. Did I just make up my own word? This has
Hey.
Let's see. Could it mean something? So Nelly sent a video that she said it's gonna be cute, it's gonna be nice, it's gonna be demure. Zoe was like, huh? Where
Mhm.
doesn't Nelly know that? And how does she know that?
We
Yeah.
keep up. We keep up with the times.
So do we go to commercial before we bring in our guest so she can be part of the icebreaker question to play a bit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Do you have any news? I know you guys had your gala this past weekend, right?
This past weekend, it was amazing. We had a great
Mhm.
turnout. Dr. Msoma was amazing. Everybody was like, "Who is he? Who is he?" He's our brother. I leave him alone. I will not answer if he's married. A lot of questions were, "Is he married? Is he not?" I'm not at liberty to say that, but leave him alone. It was amazing. Dr. Monde was there. We had
Mhm.
the ZLA. Dr. Fried and them came. We had people
Mhm.
from New York. William Sonder Hope Foundation came.
Mhm.
A lot of people came, so thank you for coming. It was a success. Mainga was there. DJ Ekayeka did his thing.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. I'm glad that people came out to support. It's always important to support one another. So grateful for everybody that was able to show up. I couldn't show up, but I was with you guys in spirit, and
We understand. You
I
were
hear
here
you
the
on the
first one we did.
yes, yes. That was good. That was a
Yeah.
really good
And
one
every
too.
time you're out of town. Yeah.
Yo, I
Amazing.
travel. I travel. So, before we go on commercial, I just want to share the link to buying the tickets for the October 19th Zambia Independence. Before, mind you, Oza is doing the big one, which is the big one for all Zambians in your area, the DMV area, right?
Mhm.
So, before that, we are having ours in the Dallas area October 19th. I've just put the link in the chat. Um,
I
go
think
ahead.
you put in our private chat.
Oh, yeah, I just realized that.
It was in the comments, I think.
I just realized that. Thank you, Priska.
Yeah.
So I put the link in the chat. You can, click on that to buy your ticket. And we have VIP packages, we have vendor packages, all of that good stuff.
What date is your independence party?
It is October 19th.
Okay. And then the 26th, you're coming here.
Yes,
I can't wait to see you guys.
I will be there.
Yes.
I won't miss that one.
Yeah.
If the Lord says the same, I'll be there.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to take a little break just to thank our sponsors, and we'll be right back with our very, very special guest today.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
My whole life, my father told me stories about moving to the United States. He would tell me that his brother, my Uncle George, was already living here and let my father stay with him for a while. Through my Uncle George, my father was introduced to our cultural organization here in America, who helped him make connections, apply for college, find his first job, and adjust to life in a completely different culture than he was used to. The Cultural Association helped him get started on his new life. My Uncle George would bring my father with him to the annual Summer Cultural Groups Festival, and later, he would bring me. It was incredible to see so many people of all ages laughing and celebrating with food and song and dance. It brought back the best feelings of home and gave my father the opportunity to pass his culture, language, and values on to me. My father and Uncle George were very close, so when George died last year, my father wanted to honor his wishes to be buried with a traditional ceremony back at his birthplace. My father told me that because Uncle George had cultural group life insurance, he was able to afford to bring George home and have the traditional burial George wanted. Though my father had been able to honor my Uncle George's wishes, it got me thinking about my own family. One day, I'd have to make the same arrangements for my own parents, and my wife's parents as well. Of course, we would want to bring them home and honor their wishes, but it would be a financial hardship for our family. There were a lot of things to think about, even though I really didn't want to think about them at all. When my father told me about cultural group life insurance, he told me it's intended to help families when they need it the most. It's not tied to an employer, so no matter where my career takes me, I'll always have coverage. The more people who participate and the younger they are, the more it helps keep the insurance premiums down for the entire association. Because my parents have cultural group term life insurance, there will be money available to help me provide the kind of service I want to give my parents. And by joining, I can put my mind at ease and continue to celebrate our traditions into the future. With cultural group life insurance, I can worry less and spend more of my time celebrating with the people who matter most to me.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is the Insaka Talk Show. My name is Priska with Nelly in the studio. Nelly said today we have, I don't even know if it's interesting or very sensitive topic, when healthcare system fails people of color. Before I bring in our guest, I also want to say that Naomi is my cousin. Her dad and her mom, my dad and her mom were cousins. And Naomi is Zambian American, born in Zambia, grew up in America. She lived in Arkansas and then moved to Indiana. Naomi's a mother of three. She is also a wife to a Zambian husband. She had all her three kids in the United States of America. She feels like the healthcare system, not even she feels, it did, the healthcare system failed her, not just her as a woman or as an immigrant, but a woman of color. And today, Naomi is here to tell her story. Let's welcome Naomi to the studio. Naomi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for that warm introduction. Yes, my name is Naomi Phiri, and I was born in Zambia. I came here when I was very young, 12, about to be 13. And yeah, I arrived in Arkansas. I grew up in Arkansas, majority of it, and then I moved to Indiana.
All right. Before you say any more, we want to break the ice so we can just easy up the conversation. Nelly?
Yeah, absolutely. It's time to break the ice, guys. And, this one is an interesting one. What is that thing that you have on either your phone or your computer that you could do for hours and hours? What is that? We'll start with
Okay, for me, 90% I'm always talking to my sister. Either talking to her or watching anime.
And on TikTok.
No, I don't. I have TikTok, but I go on it for a minute and then I leave. But yeah, and Facebook. But yeah,
Well, you have the discipline that most people don't have when it comes to TikTok.
I
Because
know.
I think Chris and I had this conversation because when it comes to TikTok, literally, we have to set a timer. Like, hey,
Yeah.
10 minutes, I got to get out of here. Because the way TikTok is set up, like you hit the exit button, trying to exit, it will bring something. You literally have to hit it like 3 times before it will let you out.
Yeah.
So, that, yeah. You said watching anime?
Yes,
Oh, you like anime? Hmm.
I
Why,
do.
Nelly?
My husband introduced me when I was pregnant, but I love it. Has more humanity than most shows, so I'm obsessed
Ah,
with it.
Oh my God.
that
Oh
is.
my God. Oh my God.
I know.
Nelly, do you watch it too?
No, but my kids do.
I'm surprised.
But my kids do. So yeah.
For me, I am either watching something, actually YouTube. I watch a lot of documentaries and a lot of audiobooks on YouTube. And the TikTok devil. I literally have to set a timer. Like Nelly said.
Yeah. I I think, yeah, like Priska, I spend a lot of time on like WhatsApp. Honestly, just catching up on messages. I have maybe 30 groups that I belong to. So yeah, this is the reason why, like, if you send me a message, I always tell people send it on WhatsApp. If you send it on regular, sometimes my messages go for days without me seeing it on regular text message.
I
If
don't
you
know how
send
you do that.
if you send it on WhatsApp though, I'm gonna see it because I check WhatsApp regularly.
What do you do with your African American, not African, what do you do with your American people that don't have WhatsApp?
They call me.
Okay.
They know to call me, especially if they send a message, I don't respond, they will call me. Yeah.
Okay.
I almost always answer the phone unless maybe I'm in a meeting or something.
Okay. Now we know. I don't know how many times send you stuff and you're like, where did you send it?
Yeah. Because I'm not checking the regular message, I'm checking WhatsApp. I'm guilty of that. But yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that icebreaker, Naomi. Like Krista said, we have a very, very sensitive topic today, guys. This is one as a woman, something that I've experienced similarly, not here in the US, but while I was in Zambia. So we're gonna delve into this topic with Naomi. She has had an experience like no other. The healthcare system failed her and failed her family. So she's here to tell her story and really to kick off the conversation. We just want to start with, can you um can you tell us what your, I know that this the second time you've been pregnant twice, right? So can you talk about the experience that you had with the first pregnancy, and then we'll talk about the second pregnancy.
Okay.
Just walk us through what you went through with the first one and then the second one.
Okay. So, with my first experience, the one thing I'll point out, the majority thing I noticed in the US, living in the US, like I said, I came in Arkansas when I was young. So the area I lived in, it was majority white people. It's like I was the only black kid at
Mhm.
the school and everywhere. So the treatment was great. I'm not gonna take that away. The treatment was great. So one thing I noticed is where there's the majority of white people, there everything tends to be great. Not just the healthcare system, even the way they are living and stuff like that. So when I was pregnant in Arkansas, the area I was in, there was black people there. I'm not gonna take that away. but a lot of them that were giving services were also white people. And with my pregnancy, that I went, my first pregnancy, it was really great. It was great. The first doctor I had, I didn't have any problem with the Medicaid that I had. First
Mhm.
of all, it was easier to be enrolled. I was a student, and then I didn't have my husband here yet. Um, so it wasn't hard to get enrolled. When I found out that I was pregnant, when I went to do the women's care center before you get a doctor, they did where they do the make you pee first, and then as soon as they are done, they tell you, hey, now we need to check if you have an epileptic pregnancy or a normal pregnancy, and they
Mhm.
would explain to you what that means. So with my first pregnancy, I noticed that they did every detail to make
Mhm.
sure whether you are educated or non-educated, you understand what is going on, and that gave me comfort compared to my second pregnancy when I moved to Indiana, where there's majority of black people.
Mhm.
The care was different. Like when I did the pregnancy test, they didn't do the scan right away. They had to schedule you up for to come back and do that scan. So which is also a dangerous thing, because if, let's say, if I'm pregnant and then it's stuck in the tube,
Mhm.
may have a miscarriage, may, such things. So I noticed that was a little bit off with that.
You said epileptic pregnancy. Is that what you
So,
said? For people that do not know, what is that?
so from the way they explained it to me, is when you get pregnant and then the egg is supposed to travel down the fallopian tube and then it touches to the wall. So there's
Mhm.
some people that if you use birth control pills, especially black people, when they use birth control pills, majority of them they get affected. So when they get pregnant, the thing is that it might be stuck in the tube. So that's epileptic pregnancy, where it's stuck in the tube, it does not get traveled, and it starts growing in the tube. So if they don't catch it early,
Mhm.
either the woman loses her life, the baby will definitely lose her life, or they'll never get pregnant. It depends on how early they catch it to help them not, get affected.
Mhm.
What was the most challenging? I know you've been pregnant twice in different states. What was the most challenging part about your second pregnancy?
The most challenging part about my second pregnancy was the doctor that I had was not really well communicating. The one thing I noticed on my first time that I went with my husband, and then the doctor found out that I was pregnant with twins, he mentioned to his coworker that it was a die-die pregnancy, which we didn't know what a die-die pregnancy meant. So my husband asked him what that meant, and he said, it's nothing to be worried about. We didn't care whether it was nothing to be worried about. We just wanted to know what it means. So I
Mhm.
noticed that too. And then the first pregnancy, they did vitals. They had already scheduled me for upcoming pregnancy. They even told me that when you get closer to being due, this will be seeing you more than we are seeing you now. And they would ask you, are you experiencing this type of symptoms? The challenges I had with the second pregnancy, they were not asking me anything I was experiencing. um they wouldn't do really vitals like that. So it was more, I started noticing that I was diagnosing myself during my twin pregnancy than I did with my first pregnancy, and it started scaring me.
God.
Wow. Um, you did mention that you noticed some differences, and just for those of you that are watching and don't know, Naomi's second pregnancy was with twins, right? So she was pregnant with twins, and obviously it's going to be different, and as a mother of three, I know that every pregnancy is also different. You have different experiences on how you feel. Um, but in terms of what made you feel alarmed, what were those key differences that you noticed, right, between when you were pregnant with baby number one and then with the twins? What were the key differences that you noticed between the two pregnancies that made you even feel like, hey, this is something else, right?
So the key differences, right now I'm comparing Arkansas and Indiana, and then where there's majority of Black people and white people. So like with my first pregnancy in Arkansas, um, when I saw my doctor for the first time, he told me what I'll be going through, from beginning to the end. And then the thing is, they did right away the blood test. They did everything they needed to. They collected my history. They did my blood test. They made sure I was, um, well, yeah, my CDC count, my white blood count, meaning my total blood count, to make sure I don't have either high or low, so they can monitor it. So with that, they took care of that, and then they will show you the results. Compared to Indiana, they didn't do any of my blood counts until I was, I think, 24 weeks, and then they had messed up already. They took a lot of blood out of me, but they said it was not enough, so they had to call me back. So it was like I was pregnant with my twins without knowing whether I have a high blood count, whether my white blood cells is high or low. How are they going to monitor me if I need more blood or not? So they didn't have that. And then when I would have a heart palpitation, I would call a nurse, which is in Indiana. I would call them to let them know. They'll tell me they didn't have any agency. They would just tell me the doctor will get back to you. Compared to in Arkansas, they had already assigned me a nurse. They gave me a number to call, and then if it was something that I wasn't feeling well, they would even let me know. Either go to the emergency room so they can check you up and make sure you're okay. Compared to in Indiana, they told me they will get back to me, and then I'm like, okay, so why would they need to get back to me if I'm not feeling well? There's a certain way I'm not feeling. So I started diagnosing myself. I had to Google. I started relying on Google. Like, if I'm feeling like this, what does that mean while you're pregnant with twins? If I'm feeling like this. So I would complain about it and tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm feeling like I'm diagnosing myself. And it still didn't go so well. Yeah.
The doctor said it was a die pregnancy, right? Did
Mm-hmm.
they eventually explain to you, and with the treatment that you received? I know there was a big difference between in Arkansas and Indiana. What is do you even trust? Did you trust the healthcare providers at that moment when you diagnosing yourself and you tell them, hey, this is how I feel? What do you think? Are they acknowledging what you're saying, or are they just ignoring you?
No, because with Indiana, the one thing I noticed is they say that you have multiple doctors compared to having one. In Arkansas, you have that one doctor, but then they switch you doctors. So I think it's a way of, if anything happens, they don't want to be pointed at. Because
Wow.
with the die, he never explained, like, they never gave me a piece of paper, like, okay, die, a mono, and all that means this. Like I said, I had to go on Google and look it up. What does a die mean? And then it showed me, oh, die is this. And that's why I even learned about a mono. So I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know what it means. Was it something surf or not surf? I didn't know that because I had to look it up. And I'm still not sure about it because, like I said, I had to look it up, and Google has so many explanations.
We have some comments from our Insaka family. Chilisha Precious, I think something with the intro she was laughing at. Brenda says, good afternoon, ladies. She's watching from Texas. She's a nurse, by the way. Thank you, Brenda. So she did say, it's commonly known as ectopic pregnancy. When the pregnancy, the egg lands in the fallopian tube, and it decides to embed itself in there. That is what it's called. So she was, just giving. Man, this is getting. It's a sad story. And to think that in this country that you experience that, Naomi, is horrible. I'm gonna play just a short video here for us, and then we will continue this conversation. Give me one moment. Okay.
Wealthiest countries in the world, the United States of America, we have the highest rates of maternal mortality. That Black women in our country in this era are 3 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth. I think it's Inexcusable.
It certainly shouldn't be that way. And what I really want us to do is just make sure we are talking about it.
We have been fighting for states to expand Medicaid coverage. We need all the states to sign on, and we need to let moms know that they're actually entitled to Medicaid coverage for up to 12 months of postpartum care. And that's one of the things that we need to get the word out. We also set up a hotline for mothers to have support in terms of emotional and mental health. So I'll give you that number, and let's make sure we get that out also. It's 1-833-TLC-MAMA.
And I'm going to be posting it and shouting it to the hills, so that moms know that we support them, that we want to make this better.
Let us all work together. And
yeah. So I wanted to share that video clip, right? So that, you know, we all see that it's not just, apparently it's worse than we thought, right? It's a national crisis that Black women are experiencing, disparities in healthcare and in the way they receive care when they are pregnant. And, you know, at that time, your emotions are all over the place. So even having that postpartum care is important. So in your case now, we've been talking about the antenatal part of it, right? Now, let's fast forward a little bit, you know, and talk about the specific moments that led to you now feeling like, man, the system has failed me and they failed my child. Can you walk us through what happened when we lost the child? Can you walk us through what happened, you know, how you were feeling, and what made you go to the doctor? How did it, you know, all come to? I know it's hard.
It is hard. I just felt even emotional just thinking about it. So it all led when we had the 24th week checkup, and that one I had to call them and tell them that they did not set me up for it. And then when they finally set me up, I got to see the same doctor that said, you don't have to worry about it. And actually, I had went for this scan before, and then when the two doctors noticed that one of my child had turned, they mentioned, and I asked them if it was something I should be worried about. They said no. So if a healthcare tells you no, to you, you feel like everything's okay because they are trained to know when it's wrong and not. But I was 24 weeks and the child had already turned, and I'm pregnant with twins. And mind you, they have not even assigned me to somebody who can be checking up on me to making sure I'm okay. When I would go to their checkups, they never asked me if I was experiencing anything. So the follow-up was with that they And I remember very clearly, I was with my mother-in-law. She was holding my son. And it was, they were born in April, so it was March 28th that I was with them. And it was on Thursday. We were in that office, and the nurse came in, did my vitals, and I started having pains. They didn't ask if I was experiencing any of those things, but they were seeing me. My mother-in-law saw me, and my mother-in-law is not a healthcare worker, but she noticed that there was something wrong. She even made a comment like, hey, let's hope you won't be having those kids anytime soon. And I'm like, I don't think so, because we're in March and they will be due in July. And I was rubbing my tummy. She asked me to go pee. I was walking very slow, technically. And I was just feeling pain. They didn't ask me, are you okay? Are you what? All they were focused on was, we at work, we do whatever it needed, they'll go home. The doctor came to see me. He saw me rubbing my stomach. He saw me in pain. And he was like, well, we'll set you up for the next 4 weeks to check on the babies on how they are doing to scan.
So at this point, they didn't scan you, seeing that you were in pain?
No.
Wow. Okay. So what happened after this visit? They send you back home?
That was on Thursday. I was still
Mm-hmm.
having pain. Friday came,
Mm.
and so funny. Saturday, I did a small party for my sister came, and I did a small party with for my son. Was celebrating his first birthday, and I was just saying, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna
Mm.
give birth. I just don't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not feeling right because I was just in pain. And I remember the night came and I was feeling wet. And I'm like, okay, I don't think this is pee. So I went and Googled,
Mm.
is there a difference when you feel like it's not pee but you're wet? And then it said, if it's not pee, then
Mm.
it's ammonic fluid. And
Mm.
then it Googled that you need to, if you want to tell the difference, you smell your underwear. So I'm like,
Mm.
okay. I smelled it and it wasn't smelling like pee. So I was like, I told my husband, I'm like, I feel like I'll be going in labor or something, but maybe tomorrow we should just go and check the doctor. That was around 1 o'clock, not even 2 hours.
Mm.
I was wet. I went to pee, not knowing that I was already 7 centimeters dilated. I
Whoa.
looked down in the toilet and I was bleeding. So I called my husband. He was traumatized just seeing blood coming out. So
Mm.
he didn't even know what to do. He didn't even know how to, he didn't even know whether to move or not. So we
Mm.
called the ambulance and
Mm.
they came and they put my legs together. And when I was in that ambulance, I was bleeding severely. I could feel the blood was coming out like a water fountain.
Hmm.
Mm.
I was in so much pain. I remember they took me to the emergency. They couldn't find my documents. They were looking for my documents. They couldn't find. They didn't know any history because they didn't even have me in the system.
So the hospital where you've been going to did not have your medical records.
Not the hospital, the
His office.
clinic. Yeah.
The
So
office.
there should be like a centralized medical place where medical records are kept, right? So
Yeah.
such that if you say you go to any emergency room, they ask for your doctor's name. And
Mhm.
I can see that because you were bounced around from doctor to doctor,
But
you
I
know.
still saw the same doctor
You
because it
said,
wasn't that much.
mm,
Every time I went to that clinic, it was the same doctor, but he just didn't have that care. I could see, and I mentioned about it. I felt it in my heart. I'm like the care I had, I would mention it. The care I had for my firstborn was so different than for my twins. I felt it, you
so
know.
now they rush you to the doctor, to the emergency room. So
And
what
they,
happens now?
so the doctors now they were like, "Well, you're 24 weeks, and we need to give you some medicine because if these kids come out now, they'll have a hard time. This is a 50-50 chance of their survival rate. So
Wow.
they have a hard time. But because I was bleeding severely, they had to do a C-section on me. They were like, no, we just have to. And I remember I was praying to God. I'm like, God, let this not happen. And then the doctor that was on that day was a different doctor. He was
Mhm.
nice. I'm not gonna take credit from him.
I
He
have a
saw me
question.
crying.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off
Okay.
because anytime the vice president and Dr. Jackie, I think everybody in this country by now know who Dr. Jackie is. She's a gynecologist. When they're worried about women of color are 3 times most likely to die when giving birth or anything to do with pregnancies, when that awareness is raised, are these providers um, people of color or are they Caucasians? The ones that were taking care of you?
The doctor that I had was Caucasian. A lot
Okay.
I didn't yeah, it was Caucasian. I only saw a black lady once.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that treatment?
She was okay.
Okay. Sorry, continue. I just needed to
No,
ask
it's
that
fine.
question.
No, it's fine. Yeah. She was okay. The doctor that delivered me, I think, I'm sure is a Caucasian. It looked
All right.
Caucasian.
Sorry.
But
Continue.
it's just the grace of God that God put me in that man's hands because when he saw me praying, the last thing I remember is him asking the nurses to also pray because he saw me praying. So it
Mm.
gave me comfort. But when I woke up, they had told my husband, because this was my husband's first time, because he wasn't here when I gave birth to my son. So they told him that the babies were big. They were okay. They're actually big. That was not true. Because compared to my son, they were so small. They were so small.
Yeah, because the first child, the first pregnancy, you went full term, right? It was a full term pregnancy. These babies were born prematurely, right?
Mhm.
So um so now the babies are born through C-section. What happens next?
They put them in the incubator and they tried their best to take care of them. They
Mhm.
did. It's just that the boy just couldn't. They weren't, and the one thing I noticed is they weren't doing that many tests on them. But I remember they would take them on oxygen, off on oxygen. I don't know much about it, but I do remember my son had a horrible death though. It was horrible that he experienced. And I remember the doctor did tell me that what was going on with my son was also going on with my daughter. But the grace of God is he transferred her to a teaching hospital. The teaching hospitals are the best hospitals I would recommend because I feel like they have students that they have to learn, they have to be on top of it. They don't want to be sued compared to just a private or a regular one where, you know, you
So
can't.
you're pregnant, your husband is excited, it's twins, it's a boy and a girl, only for you to give birth immaturely through C-section, and then you lose your son, one of the babies. So now you have, your baby girl clinging to life.
Mm. When she was transferred to a teaching hospital, I had a nurse who was pregnant that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she was a Caucasian lady, and she was like talking about how her doctor had seen that she was in pain, and he had to order her on bed rest so that that child does not come early.
Wow.
I wanted to be happy for her, but I
Mm.
Um, I'm sorry for your loss, for losing the son. Thank
couldn't.
God the baby is doing okay. The baby
Mhm.
girl, she's pulling through. You're going to the doctors every time is a different doctor, and these are doctors, Caucasian doctors. As a woman of color, when you're diagnosing yourself and telling them, this is how I feel, this is what I read on Google, because usually when you go to a doctor, my doctor, I know I'll be like, I Googled this, I Googled this. You'll be like, stop listening to Google, stop. Don't even Google anything, ask a doctor. As
Mhm.
a woman of color, what do you think they should have done different? How would you have liked to be heard? What do
I
you
feel
wish they told you? Like just a teaching moment.
I think the system, I don't know, the Indiana system should have instead of having where you have multiple doctors, they should remove that.
Mhm.
So at least you can know who to pinpoint. Because even when they were trying to find my medical records, all of them were just saying, no, I only had it for a certain time. And that doctor that had me, he came in to congratulate me, even when he knew it was wrong. And then the thing is, he said that he talked to me about postpartum depression. That's why he told this case manager. And I had my sister with me.
Mm.
And I looked at her, I'm like, did you hear him talk about postpartum? She said, no, he only talked about birth control pills. And, you know, he never mentioned about postpartum depression. He just suggested about birth controls. That's how much he did not care. I
Okay,
Wow.
so hang on. So you're in this hospital, um, because of their negligence. Now you've gone into premature labor. You have lost a child. One child, he comes in and congratulates you and says and recommends birth control, as opposed to saying you need to speak with someone because at this moment your emotional state is very precarious.
He didn't ask how I was doing.
Wow.
He didn't ask about postpartum. He just said congratulations. And then he started talking about types of birth controls.
Did you ask for birth control or you just volunteered?
My sister was there. And then he told the case manager that he talked to me about postpartum. That's the two different. And then when the case manager came in, he's like, I saw the doctor. He said he talked to you about postpartum. I said, no, not even one word. And the thing is, I looked at my sister to answer for me because I didn't want to look like a liar. And she was like, no, you only listed about postpartum, you only listed about the birth types of birth controls and stuff. He didn't mention anything about postpartum. He didn't even ask me if I was feeling any of those information and if I needed them. He didn't even recommend where.
So, Nelly,
Sorry, Priska. I wanted to just pause a little bit. It's heavy. I want to read some comments. Your Machina, by Naomi, that's my mom. She says, thanks for this information. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Brenda says, Black women's complaints, pain, and concerns are always dismissed. It is sad. Mm-hmm. That being said, if you are not in a position to speak, let your loved ones advocate for you. Yeah, always true. You have to have somebody fighting for you when we go. And it's sad as it may be, you have to go into these hospitals knowing that you need to have someone speaking for you, especially if you're so sick that you can't speak for yourself, right? You would think in a perfect world, all you have to do is show up, right? I'm in pain, I'm not well, my body is whatever. Treat me, help me. You are the professionals. But unfortunately, that is not the case.
It's so sad that I've been in the healthcare industry for over a decade, going on 15 years now. And it is sad, like people will just look at you and judge you. I don't even know, I'm getting emotional. Judge you because of the insurance. The first thing they will ask you is, do you have insurance? Before you even tell them what is wrong. And not just when we Black women are pregnant, complications, a lot of history, they don't do that research as much. I remember being an immigrant pregnant. I didn't have insurance when I was pregnant. I went through something similar, but fast forward, I work and I see this every single day. Somebody comes in, if you are saying you're in pain, then they think you're seeking pain medication because you're an addict. When you say when you're a Black woman and you're pregnant, they think, okay, you're just complaining because you don't want to go to work, you don't want to do this. Like, how can we even get through this if the vice president is talking about, and I think 33 states signed on the Medicaid, where you can have, like, after 12 months, even after you give birth. I'm not sure what the actual number is right now, but I want to go back to, you're pregnant with twins. They didn't really take care of you. You lose one child. You have a child. He comes and say, congratulations. No support about your son that passed on. How can we help you? Here is a number of somebody that you can talk to, but he's coming to talk to you about birth control, meaning don't be having any more children.
Yeah.
That's what I would take it as.
That was very insensitive and callous.
I know. He was very insensitive because when he was talking to me, even the time I was in pain, he had his arms in his waist. That's sign one. Even after I gave birth, he had his arms, because his body language literally saying, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid. I've worked in healthcare. I know doctors that are genuine and those who actually get paid. And I've never seen that many of them until I saw him.
That is horrible. So now, with the experience that you had, right, with at this point, we've had a conversation obviously before this, and we know that you went through postpartum depression, right? So with that experience that you had, what is your view of the healthcare system? And also, I would like to know, what kind of support did you receive in order for you to really come out of this? And I know it takes time to grieve, right? You're grieving the loss of your baby, but you're also um, postpartum depression comes even when a baby is born healthy. I went through postpartum depression with one of my babies, so I know you're fighting two things here. You're dealing with grief, and now you're also dealing with postpartum depression. What support system did you have to help you navigate these two difficult situations?
No. So I've experienced postpartum depression both ways. My first pregnancy, it was COVID. I didn't have my husband. My mother-in-law was in Arkansas. I mean, I was in Arkansas. She was in Indiana. And I know the first time she saw me, she knew that, hey, this girl is about to experience it. But she always drove. I'm blessed to have a mother-in-law like her, because she would drive 11 hours straight from, actually, it was 13, adding with Chicago. So about 13 hours straight from work to come and stay with me during the weekend. And I would have people from church that came in, and I wouldn't sleep, but just me talking to her. And then I had a cousin that I spoke to in Zambia that when I started seeing images, postpartum depression is things you never imagined in your head.
Mm,
I mean, especially you just gave birth and your life has changed. You're not going to be partying. You're not going to be doing this. You're not going to be working. You'll be
mm,
with that child. You have to attend to that child. And so you have images when the child is crying, they can eat, they can do this. You have images of trying to either end that child's life and stuff like that. And I talked about it. I mentioned it. I would tell my cousin who was pregnant, like, I'm seeing these. They were vivid pictures. But
mm,
every time I told her, I would say, when I see that, I would kiss my child and cry and pray
mm,
and tell God to take over. And then I would calm down. So when I was telling her that, to me, I was venting because I'm trying to prevent something bad happening, not knowing that I was also preparing her for her own. Because when she gave birth, she
mm.
also experienced it, and then she remembered, hey, my sister experienced this way, and then we'll talk about it. And that helped. With my second, with my twins, I was, I didn't know I was really, really depressed. It was just, it became part of me because I didn't have time to grieve my son. I had to take my, make sure I was praying to make sure the baby girl grow. Or every day I was on the phone with the doctors, especially when she was transferred. They found a lot of diagnoses, but they were on top of it, which assured me compared to before. So I didn't know I was really depressed until I think after now she's going, she's a year, and my son drew over my house, and it looked like a graffiti of New York at the train station.
That's
But
a
I was
boy
used
for
to it.
you.
I would tell myself I'm gonna clean the house, and I wouldn't. I mean, it was just it became part of me. It
Mm,
was something that I didn't know I had, but I had it. I
mm,
was stress eating. I was just, my mother-in-law was trying to give me some advice, and I would look at her, I'm sure. And we have to have that respect. And I would just be like, I'm listening, but my mind is somewhere else. And she still understood. She still understood. She would come and help me get the kids. And thank God I had my sister Precious, and she was a girl that even when I'm crying, when the child is crying, I would feel like I want to snap, but she would get the child and cool her down, and she would help me with my son. So I had family. Family is the number one key of help. And it's very rare in the US. And that's why you hear stories of people killing
mm,
their kids or leaving their kids on vacation for 2 days thinking they'll be okay.
mm.
So you have to have family to help you with postpartum depression. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's definitely heavy. You need that support. And to me, if you are not a person of faith, I don't see how you can make it, honestly. You're right. And this is where you hear people lost it. Somebody did this, and you're like, how could they do that to their own child? How could they just take the kids and abandon them, right? But when you don't have support to lean in, that's emotional support is important. That sisterhood is important, to have women around you that can, the mentorship circle is really, really important. With what you went through, did at any time did it occur to you that, you know what, maybe I need to sue, because this is something that warrants a lawsuit?
Yes, I did. Because I knew they did me wrong,
Mhm.
100%. And when I would tell people about it, even the Caucasian people I'll talk to, the
Mm.
therapists, when I tell them my experience, they're like, "No, you have to sue." Everybody who hears my stories, they say I have to sue. But when I tried, I
Mm.
remember I tried. I asked for attorney. I don't think they had enough information. But the only thing I noticed is they noticed this is a black woman trying to sue a white person. That's my understanding. Because what they told me was, we can't carry your case because you were obese. How obese was I? I didn't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. I don't have any health problems. So,
So the
Oh
wow,
my God.
the the law firm told you we can't take your case. So in other words, this happened to you because you neglected yourself by being overweight. In other
yeah.
words,
In other words, yes.
Have you requested for a copy of your medical records from
yeah.
when you started
Mhm.
going there up to until you gave birth and the baby passed, as well as the medical records of the babies?
No.
Let's start
I
by
don't
doing
know
that.
how to
You
do
have a
that.
right to request your medical records. Read through your medical records. And since you were saying they do have a system that everybody documents when they see you, they have to chart. When they see you, they have to chart.
Yeah.
Request for medical records.
Yeah.
I don't even know what is
So, sorry. Mom says, I'm surprised no chaplain came to see you. The hospital does not have any chaplains. Like the
No,
hospital.
the hospitals do have. They
Did,
do.
did somebody come? Did a chaplain come and see you?
They prayed with me.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. The place I gave birth to, they do have.
Okay.
hmm They do come and after you give birth, they do. They do come and pray with you.
Hmm. Brenda says, this is so heartbreaking. I'm very sorry for what you went through.
Thank you.
Um,
What advice would you give as an immigrant? Lucky for you, you had your mother-in-law, Precious, was there. Then your husband came. As immigrants living in the United States of America, not understanding, not even knowing the laws that even if you don't have medical insurance, you can go to the emergency room and they're not going to turn you away. What advice would you give to a young immigrant mother like you that just came in? How can they prevent what happened to you from happening?
The advice I
A
can
new
give,
mother.
they need to have a connection with someone that they might know who lives here longer. Because
mm,
if you don't know how the system works, there's no way you can prevent from anything happening wrong. Because for me to be able to tell that Indiana actually failed me was because of the experience I had with Arkansas.
The pregnant
right.
baby, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't have that experience where the doctor was on top of it, he was a Caucasian doctor in Arkansas. And he was
Mm,
on top of it from day one. He told me what my pregnancy was going to be like. He had
mm,
already scheduled me to the time I was due after he calculated. And every time I saw him, they did vitals. They asked, before they do anything, are you in pain? Are you
mhm,
experiencing like vomiting? Do you
mm,
feel like such things helped me be aware? I'm not a healthcare doctor, but I'm not a healthcare professional like that, but I knew that I had somebody who was there. They would explain the shots they were going to give me, how they were going to help me or help my children, my upcoming kids. They did a 28-week 3D check on
mhm.
my child. They made sure that child was okay. In Indiana, apparently you have to pay for that. You have to pay for that. Make sure that child is okay.
Medical insurance doesn't cover that?
My Indiana medical insurance refused to do a lot of things that Arkansas medical insurance paid for me. And I'm being sued for the ambulances because I had 3 bleeds during my kid's pregnancy. So I was a high risk pregnancy in some way. But I had 3 emergencies that I had to call the emergency.
Mm-hmm.
I called 911, 911 send me the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 ambulances Indiana refused to pay. Claiming
Wow.
that
So Medicaid refused to pay the ambulance, so the ambulance is suing you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can somebody please take Naomi's case? So I mean, honestly, it's like it's failure upon failure upon failure. This is not acceptable. You shouldn't have to go through all of this.
So I recently found out that Arkansas actually paid for my pregnancy medicals, which does not make sense.
So could you, and I know you can do this. You can actually call for them. They get the reference number. You can actually call and confirm that that was paid, and then you can send.
No,
It's called,
when they sent me because I thought that was it. So when I went to court, I was like, hey, it shows that Arkansas paid for it. And then the guy suing me was like, no, they actually covered your medicals, not your ambulance. So I'm like, why is Arkansas covering my medicals? Not my, because that's from another.
I think you also need like a proper caseworker, because the way the Medicare system works, it does need somebody who understands how they bill and stuff like that to help you. Brenda says 3D sonograms are actually a requirement for high risk pregnancies. So it's shocking that they wanted you to pay for a service that you should have had. Even if I don't know, it would have probably shown a lot of things. For you to call an ambulance 3 times within the life of the pregnancy shows that, hey, there's something wrong here. Yeah. And that should have warranted more investigations. So it's sad to see that they really, really let you down. We have a number that's going across the screen. It is 1833 TLC Mama. It's a hotline for pregnant women. I know that here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we did put together, we have a list which we're going to share on our website with the help of our nurse practitioner, healthcare providers, like Brenda Chama and the others. We came up with a list of clinics that will provide you services, whether now whether you know what I mean. So
about to say that.
So it's a good thing. Lean into, for those of you that are watching, if maybe you're pregnant, you're an immigrant, you don't know what to do, there are services out there. If you call that number, it doesn't matter, it's a national hotline. If you call that number, they will be able to help you with where you can get services within your state and within your city. So yeah, I'm gonna pause here, Priska.
Speaking, and thank you for bringing up that of saying abashkwetama paper ngabalefokuya kuma clinic. I know you said that you guys have Kudalas. Even here in Maryland, we have St. Joseph's Medical Center. They have some grants for abantu abashakwatama paper that they'll give you, and they will pay for your pregnancy from the time you were fit to go and check up. And please do not shy away from saying, oh, because in shakwatama paper I can't go to hospital, they cannot turn you away.
No, they can't turn you away.
St. Joseph's Medical Center in Towson, they take you. You can even be on a pay scale, like you can just say, you know what, I can only pay $20 every visit. Every visit you pay $20.
Yeah, and here in Dallas, one of the hospitals is Parkland, but we also have like clinics, right? Like Priska mentioned, they have in the DMV area. So please reach out, talk to somebody. Do not suffer in silence. Naomi, we thank you so much for your bravery, for sharing your story. I know your babies need you. This time that you dedicated to share this, I hope and pray that with this little exposure, somebody somewhere will come through and give you the help that you need, in terms of, and I hope that from this pain, you can even start like a nonprofit to help other women, because it should not be in vain. I dare even to say, name it, put it in the name of your late son, you know, and make something that will help others for years to come with your experience.
Thank you so much.
So when I had a conversation with her and we talked about it, about the support groups that she was talking about, and after losing the son and giving birth, going through postpartum depression, I can never say that word. She's coming back next week to now talk about that, how she dealt with postpartum depression, how to deal with it, how she coped, and how she can help other mothers. So part 2 will be Naomi talking about that next week.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Again, thank you for gracing us with your presence. We are praying for you. A number of women, I shared this in the women's group over here in the Dallas area. We have a lot of women of God in those groups. So praying, ladies, let us pray for Naomi. Let us pray for her babies and her family. And for any other young lady that is going through a similar situation, we pray that nobody else goes through this. It's too horrible, but we do know that unfortunately there are many more like you out there because of just negligence of the healthcare system. So yeah, Priska.
Thank you, Naomi, and thank you for being brave, for talking about this, for raising awareness. I know you talk about it all the time, especially when it comes to postpartum depression. Even people back home in Zambia, where we are from, a lot of people do not understand, do not know how to deal with. And you did tell me a story about a lady that unalived her children, but we can talk about that next week.
Mhm.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. This has been the Insaka Talk Show. Please join us again next Sunday for part 2 as we now delve into the postpartum depression that Naomi faced and so many other women face worldwide, and how you can get help. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.